Hi everybody, Greg Rust and Greg Murphy with you for another edition of the Speed Cafe Summer Grill, brought to you by KTM. For this ep, we're going to focus very much on MotoGP, and we'll be joined by our MotoGP writer Dan Herrero very soon. But first up, we are delighted to welcome the 1987 World Champion, Wayne Gardner. G'day.
G'day Rossi, how are you?
It's fantastic to catch up with you. It would be wrong of us not to start with second generation success in the Gardner family. Portimao, Remy wins. How did you feel about that? Pretty cool.
Look, obviously I'm proud of him and amazed him, but I'm not surprised as well. I know that he's been extremely talented as a young kid, and most of the paddock will know that I've been walking around bragging about him for years and never coming up with the results. So, it's just been through different circumstances, and it's a battle to get through the minefield of teams and the good and the bad teams and the not so good teams and the staff and the people. And if you know what I mean, it's hard to make the right decision, and not all the best rides and best teams are available when you're trying to break your way through. But we've done it. I think he's finished off well with Stop and Go, and now he's signed up with KTM and the Red Bull team with Aki Aggio's team, which is, if not the best, one of the best teams in the paddock.
The series Moto3, Moto2, MotoGP is putting on a serious show. The racing is just, it's second to none. I think you'd agree, but they're such big fields. There's such big participation. There's so many young riders all vying for a MotoGP ride. To just actually get that race win. That's just a massive step in itself, because it just is such a hard thing to actually achieve.
Yeah, it is. It's very difficult. But Remy, could have been in MotoGP already. He had an offer to ride in for KTM. Which is the Ica ride. Remy was supposed to take that seat, and Hervé wanted Remy because he knows of his talent when he was riding for Moto2 with him, when Hervé's bikes were 2014 bikes and Remy's racing in the 2018 championship, So that was always a battle, and nobody knows that kind of stuff. And so that's what I'm saying to you about equipment. It's never been the best underneath him or the personnel. However, the results weren't there, and Remy thought it wasn't quite ready for it. He didn't know, and it was a gamble, and he wouldn't want to go to MotoGP and then not perform and then go backwards out the door, because you get one chance to go into MotoGP, and if you perform, you're there for a long time. But if you don't get the results, you won't get back in. You have to go back to Moto2 or even Moto3 maybe. But it's not an easy journey, and it's a choice of timing and picking the right team. So Remy, we got him into the Stop and Go team last year, and there was a lot of promises made there, and they were never brought to fruition. For example, Remy was supposed to have a new bike for 2020. He didn't have one. He had a 2019 bike. So we've had 2 years like that, and it's been just dramas that you can't see and the public can't see. All they see is him riding around the track. However, the teams are understanding this now, and Remy then obviously came out and won the last race, which he shouldn't have done on that bike, but he did. And of course now everyone wants him, everyone's raving about him, and I was only talking to Lisa last night, all the sharks are starting to circle around, all the managers, and you've got to have 25 entourage with you, and it's all starting. So, everyone's now seen his potential. Remy already tested with the KTM bike, I think 1 day or 2 days at Portimao, and I've only got a short story out of it from him, but he was fastest, by quite a bit. He was 2/10 off his fastest time in the race on a new bike that he hadn't ridden before, but he said he didn't like the feel of the rear of the bike. It was stiffer or something, and might have had a different swinging arm. I don't know any more detail on that. But straight out the gate, Aki's happy with him. KTM and Red Bull are super happy. So I think it's going to be hopefully a really good season for him. He's got the right package around him now and the right people. So, and if he performs, he's got a 1 year contract with him for next year. which is a typical contract for all the riders that go and join the system, like Martin and everybody else. And then they've got a 1-year clause on Remy, an option to hold him then to take him to MotoGP, only MotoGP, or he can stay in Moto2, but he doesn't want to stay there because his size and his weight of him, he's too big and heavy. But in MotoGP, it's not going to make a huge difference, not as much anyway, a little bit. But I mean, Remy's very strong. He's not fat. He's just extremely strong and strong boy. He should have played football, I think.
Moving on, just to Jack Miller. How have you seen 2020 and his performance, and then the signing, moving to the factory team for next year? Is that going to take Jack to where he needs to fight for a world championship?
Yeah, look, Jack's a fast rider. He's very talented. A lot of people have doubted him in the past, but you've only got, you don't win a Moto3 championship or second in the championship if you're not a good rider. So, unfortunately, he made the jump from Moto3 to MotoGP. That's a big step, and probably too big. But he did it. But it's taken him a little while to understand what he's needed. Where it's Moto2 is such a good class because it prepares you for MotoGP. It's something in between. And now they've got a bit more power now. They're more fun to ride. So, it was always going to happen, I think, with Jack. But, I don't think the Ducati's the easiest bike to ride as well and set up. He's got a good relationship there. I mean, he's a works rider now for them. They're a big team. I'm sure he's getting paid a lot of money. I hope that they can give him the product that he can win. I think he's got the talent to win. And I'm just hoping that they have a bike to win. And they've had a clear out of riders. I think it's probably a good thing that Ducati needed, and have a reshuffle. They brought in more talents, young talents. And in fact, they've got 6 factory bikes, we'll say, on the grid next year. So that's pretty good. They've got the budget to do it. But if Ducati do a good job in the testing and the designing, and they can listen to Jack and they give him what he wants, I'm sure he'll be in with a chance of winning a championship.
Yeah, well.
Wayne, thank you very much. It's been great to shoot the breeze with you about Aussies in MotoGP. There's more than what we've covered in this discussion, but we hope that 2021 is even more successful for Remy, and perhaps not so frustrating for you watching and cheering him on from wherever you'll be. What we're going to do now is a little bit of trickery, switch from one Zoom to another. Thanks to Wayne Gardner, let's bring in our own MotoGP rider at speedcafe.com, and that's Dan Herrero. Hello.
Hello, gents.
Nice to talk with you because in addition to what Wayne covered off relating to Remy and Jack Miller and kind of that Aussie flavour, there was a lot that went on in the MotoGP Championship this year. Firstly, a new and surprising champion in Joan Mir.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary season, and we got to a point late in the season where we thought that Mir might even win the championship without winning a race, although he managed to do that when they had that doubleheader at Valencia, and that basically put him on the precipice before he wrapped it up a week later. Really strange championship, especially without Marc Marquez for most of it. At times, just because of the chaos that was going on in MotoGP, it almost felt like just a string of races in their own right. There was not a real sort of championship narrative for much of the season, just because of everything that was going on and so many different race winners and podium finishes this year.
Do you think, mate, that, and a lot of people talked about it, it's been mentioned so many times, obviously Marc Marquez exiting stage left, reasonably early on, missing a whole host of races. The question is, would the championship have looked a lot different if he had been in there doing what he does best? Or would it have been still as competitive, and would it have gone down to the wire the way it did? I mean, so many different race winners, so many people on the podium. I really believe that he wouldn't have had it his own way in 2020. I think it still would have been a hell of a fight.
No, I don't think so. I think, and we have seen that in past seasons where, Marquez has been there. We've seen, competitive races, particularly with Dovizioso, has gone down with him literally to the last corner several times in the last couple of years alone. Think, Austria on multiple occasions as well. So, no, it would have looked different. I think if Marquez had have kept it upright in Jerez the first time around, it quite possibly would have been a different story. But he didn't, and that opened up an opportunity for every other rider on the grid, and there was one bloke who managed to take it.
Dan, let's talk Valentino Rossi, because obviously his time with the factory team has come to an end. He even had COVID in 2020 that he had to battle through as well. Some of the nucleus of people that have been around him for a long time, the likes of Brent and Alex Briggs, have finished there, and he'll race for a different team in 2021. Were you surprised that he was going to keep going around again, albeit not on a factory Yamaha, but still on a Yami? And, you know, how does the great man, if and when, ultimately call time on this whole deal?
Yeah, so he got asked to decide up front because the way contract cycles normally work in MotoGP, and he couldn't make a decision, so that left open the door for Quartararo to come up from SRT to the factory Yamaha team, and we all expected then that might be a swap, which is ultimately what has been borne out. It just took a while to confirm compared to what we thought. They dotted some I's, crossed some T's in terms of what crew Rossi takes over. So he's taking his new crew chief, David Munoz, which I think is really important for him, because he talked about how important that change was for him and how they've managed to convince Yamaha's engineers that, hey, you know, sometimes Valet should get to go his own way on setup. It worked for him early in the season. As to when he calls time, well, it's a one-year contract at the moment, and the contract is with Yamaha, importantly, so it's with the factory rather than the team he's going to. Interesting timing, because the agreements with the independent teams run out at the end of 2021, and we're already seeing VR46, which is his academy team, will have a presence in the Premier class for the first time next year when Luca Marini comes up from Moto2 to race for Avintia, or a Sponsorama as they're known at the moment. I guess it's going to depend a lot, again, on how he starts the 2021 season, which was the plan he had originally for 2020, to decide whether he goes around again. I think, though, you know, it looks likely that VR46 might make that a sort of their own presence and their own team in MotoGP from 2022. That might be a logical endpoint. Well, I guess we're going to have to wait and see, but certainly there are a lot of things now lining up which suggests that this could very well be the last year for Valentino Rossi.
This year, and that would be a shame if that is the case for Valentino, but it does have to call time on it eventually, doesn't it? And it has been a bit of a struggle. I mean, I've got to give him so much credit for just his utter determination and commitment and passion ongoing with all the struggles and the strains and the battles. And we saw Yamaha have some interesting situations this year. There are engine dilemmas, all that kind of stuff, obviously wreaking havoc. But, you know, we saw some just incredible things in 2020 that was probably very unexpected. You know, KTM having their first win, and the performances there. The shifts to Vizioso, not with a ride in 2021. You know, there was such significant changes through such a wild season. And one thing that I loved a lot about it was the fact we had all these back-to-back double-header races at the same circuit, where the results were so different from week to week. I was hoping that was going to continue on in 2021 as being a part of a mainstay of the championship. They haven't done that. Did you enjoy that side of it?
Yeah, it was funny because, like you say, aside from, you know, the opening two rounds at Jerez when Quartararo won both of them, they were quite different, and we saw so much happen. I think particularly, you know, Austria, those two races at the Red Bull Ring, they were incredible for their own different reasons, and two races in a row that were red flagged for some major incidents. So we saw Miguel Oliveira get his first win there as well on a Tech 3 KTM. I really quite enjoyed it, and we saw so much variety, and we saw some of the, you know, the new generation, as you alluded to, really step up, like Oliveira, like Binder, it was him that got KTM's first win when we all expected that it might be Pol Espargaro. So I really liked that. And then we saw, you know, even Johan Zarco getting back racing again, and he took a pole on a year-old Ducati back at Brno. There was so much happening.
Dan, some final comments from you before we wrap this up, if we can. And the natural line of conversation is to the 2021 season. And and what you think may be in store, photos and vision not all that long ago of Marquez returning from hospital to home and things like that?
Yeah, well, where do you start? It's kind of opened up again because of that operation. So if the recovery time is, maybe the 6 months that we're talking about, he's looking like missing maybe half a dozen races. So you say for him, championship hope's probably over again already. So it'll be interesting to see how Espargaro adjusts, given that he's at given that he's at Repsol. Honda now, I think Yamaha, I kind of see them struggling again in 2021, so that'll be interesting. Ducati obviously, is Miller the team leader there now? And it will be interesting to see how KTM goes as well, because of course they lost their concessions because of their results this year, that progress that they've made since they entered MotoGP, and then not even mention Suzuki again yet. I think it starts to play into Suzuki's hands again next year. That sort of stability that they have, and I think, given what's happened to Marquez, I think we have to install Mir as the early favourite. It
makes it difficult at Honda, as you say. I mean, Marc Marquez has been the leader there, developing that bike. He's obviously got a style that is able to make maybe a difficult bike like that work so well. What does that mean for Pol Espargaro going there and actually not having someone like Marc Marquez to actually work with and learn from, and also and help develop that bike, because it looks like a bit of a tricky thing.
Well, yeah, it might have worked out all right for him, funnily enough. I guess with not having Mark there, and they had Alex had his year at the factory team. With no Mark and with what he's able to do with that bike, I think it kind of forced them to adjust and to maybe make it a bit more user-friendly. So that might actually help Pol when he steps into there. It's not so much a Marc Marquez special. The other question mark is who you put on that bike if indeed Mark does miss those first few races of 2021. That's going to be interesting as well. I guess, Dovizioso, when he didn't renew with Ducati and he didn't do any deals, it was because he wanted to be free in case something came up for him. Well, I guess logically, this is the sort of thing you're expecting that might come up. So maybe we see him back on a Honda.
Dan, thank you very much. We love your passion for it. I think the one thing that's come through in this chat is we are set for more variety and more excitement, and MotoGP keeps delivering that, don't they? 2021 on paper should be really good. Thank you very much.
Definitely. Thank you.
There he is, Dan Herrero, and that wraps up another edition of the Speed Cafe Summer Grill, all with thanks to our great mates at KTM, ready to race. We'll be back with another episode right here real soon. KTM are giving away some awesome summer essentials each week. Stay cool with a KTM Powerwear pack featuring a shirt, cap, thongs or jandals, sunglasses and lanyard. To enter the draw, all you need to do is subscribe to Speed Cafe in the sign up box below this video. It is that easy. And we'll have another episode of the KTM Summer Grill for you tomorrow. Stay tuned.